Hi, all. My name is Christopher Stephen Jacobs, and I have been physically inclined, inclined all of my life. My guides have made themselves known to me at the age of 5. When I was younger, they came to me in dreams as well as my imaginary friends. Sometimes we just played, and others they showed me things, took me places, and educated me on how our unseen world looked. It was hard for me because I thought everyone saw the world this way. I grew up going to Catholic school, and their doctrine certainly did not agree with my perspective. So it was challenging. I was not alone. My mother, Katrina, was also born with these gifts. So, as you can imagine, our after dinner conversations are not quite like most families. We have always had guides and different people come to speak and to speak. My skills took a great leap after an accident where I was struck while walking across the street. I was technically deceased for approximately 1 hour, but to me, I was in a new place surrounded by guides for about 2 weeks. When I woke back here, it was a surprise of the ambulance staff. After a few months of being a jumbled mess, my traditional psychic skills of a medium enhanced to talking to the galactic community. I also learned how to bilocate, heal others by removal of oppressive technology, heal others by delivering healing energy, and learn to interface in a defensive posture when needed. Since 2013, I have been speaking on multiple shows giving information on my understanding of the world around us. Now that my feet are wet, so to speak, I am being called to lead a discussion on what knowledge I have been given. So here we are. I want to take a second and acknowledge all those worldly and off-worldly beings who have graciously encouraged me and assisted me to this moment. I want to thank my mother for just being a most amazing person. I want to thank Joanna for finally coming into my life. I want to thank Jerry and Kathy Wills for helping me gain access to a greater audience. I want to thank the Diamond Council members for letting me hone my skills with them on their shows over the last few years. And I want to acknowledge my guides, known as the Galactics, for being there even when I get frustrated and tell them to go away. I will not be alone in this show. I've asked Joanna to be my permanent co-host and hope my mother will join us on a regular basis. Joanna possesses a multitude of gifts as well, such as being a seer and psychic intuitive, but her passion is coaching and teaching. Joanna has helped immensely with the writings on this website. I thanked Joanna already for coming into my life, but let me expand a bit. For everyone who has read my first book, I spoke of a person who I had been searching for most of my adult life. I'm happy to say I found her. We are soulmates, and have lived multiple lives together. We are both remembering those past lives, as well as events during periods in what I have termed the backstage. I'll talk more about the backstage on future shows, but suffice to say we are here together, as we planned a long time ago, to assist humanity during these times. As the website states, our goal is to provide enhanced knowledge in order to gain a better understanding of the truths related to the world around, all existing in the now, past, present, and future. We are very excited to be here and are so grateful for anyone who gives us a moment to hear what we have to say. Now, let's get on with some basics to our show. Okay. Everyone will be placed on mute. There will be a welcome opening remarks by myself and Joanna. We will have a blessing. Then we have a discussion on the topic for that particular show. I will invite the Galactics in to participate. We will then open the floor for viewer questions towards the end of the show. All participants are in mute mode. If you have a question at the end of the show, please press *6 and you will be asked if you wish to be placed in a queue to ask your question. Press 1 to be in the queue. We will see who is lined up with the questions and we will unmute you to ask it in which they were received. We will have an ending affirmation and a blessing, and then end with any last notes. After the first few shows, we will be having guests to participate in the different discussions. We decided to start at the beginning with these first few shows. Therefore, anyone beginning their journey has a place to start. So these first few shows are what some would call the basic building blocks to understand these new energies that are taking us into the new curriculum of 5D. This is also another show that we will be doing on Thursdays. This will be the viewer questions show. We will also host this viewer question and answer show every other Thursday starting January 19th. Send your questions to thelifting2017@gmail.com. Any question is acceptable. However, I will not be doing personal readings during this time. Questions should be generalized enough to help all. You can also get in the queue to ask questions during the live show by, again, pressing *6. Rules of the Tuesday show consist of this. No character assassination. People have the right to believe what they believe until new knowledge and discernment skills have them grow into a new truth. We will answer our understanding of a particular subject. Questions from listeners should be topic related. For example, today we will talk about the new education paradigm and protection. Now, on to the blessing that I myself have written, and so has Joanna. For all here in attendance, seen and unseen, during this maiden voyage of the lifting, we offer peace in a time of ever-changing energies. All are blessed. You can take it from here, Joanna.
Hi, everybody. This is Joanna. And we wanted to get started, again, kind of at the beginning, maybe giving some basics to our understanding of everything, so you know where we're starting from. So in general, what I'm going to discuss is, again, through our conversations with guides and different people, our basic understanding of what we're going through. And I'm going to try to do it. It's very detailed, and we'll talk about things more in depth, but just to give a general umbrella picture of what we believe is going on, I start in general with the very basic, that we do have a belief that there is a source. Some people refer to that as a God, but we refer to it as the source. We are all actually a part of that source. We are one with the source. And in general, before we were all in existence, the source itself, the one that is everything, basically wanted to separate itself into pieces and basically decide to discover itself again by creating different experiences. Those pieces, which you can think of yourself as one of those pieces, would not remember that they were actually a part of that one source. So part of the journey that we go through is about rediscovery about what everything means and our connection to the source. And we are in one of those learning experiences, or sometimes you may hear the word expressions. Right now, we're a part of a learning cycle. So we go actually through grades, curriculum, and the one thing that was congruent with, let's say, the Mayan calendar and the year 2012 and different things like that, is it really, there is some congruency about that and the ending of a learning cycle and the beginning of a new learning cycle. And so for those that are ready to enter the new courses for this new curriculum, there is changes that are going to begin and start to occur. So, and some people will refer to these different educational levels of learning as densities. And that's really what you have to, I think, start thinking of this. One of the things that the Galactics have tried to stress to us is that we need to not see people on a higher level or a lower level. You've got to kind of look at everything as everyone's on the same level. You're just at different learning experience levels. So you don't want to think you're lesser than, and you don't want to think others are lesser than you. And that's being stressed a lot. So think of it as just different levels of educations. And so different densities are different levels of education that you're potentially experiencing. So we're coming out, or those that are ready to move on in their education are coming out of a 3D or a third density experience. And the learning curriculum in that 3D world was basically a time of experiencing who we are by who we are not. And so we refer to that oftentimes as duality. And we are going into fourth and fifth density. And basically in that area of fourth and fifth density, we're going into learning about the concepts of unity and love. So as we grow into these new densities, we gain more DNA that is activated and more generalized abilities, like, for example, seeing more of the light spectrum. There is also something referred to as the thinning of the veil, and we use that in quotes because, believe it or not, all of the concepts of the thinning of the veil that you may have heard of, we've been told, is actually a psyops. But if you use that term, quote, thinning of the veil, we kind of like to think of it as basically including remembrances of past lives and experiences and being able to see other beings that are normally outside of the 3D light spectrum. And so you're going to graduate into more abilities as you move into different densities. So whether a person is ready or not to move into this learning experience, it is a personal soul choice. There is no right or wrong answer. It's all about experience and growth. And we have all of eternity to learn and grow. And so each soul decides where they want to be and what they're ready for. So what we want to try to get into first in these discussions in this new education paradigm for those moving into 4 and 5D are a couple of key basics. And one of the key basics that's very, very important that you really have to learn and embrace is that concept of being authentic. Some have referred to this as just being you, or you may hear people, just be yourself, or just whatever. But in all honesty, most people are lost and they're like, I have no idea who I really am. And why is that? Well, because basically, you've been looking at the world around you and seeing yourself more through other people's eyes and what their expectations are. And everybody's been very busy just trying to keep a roof over their head and different things, and you don't have a lot of time necessarily to sit back and figure out exactly who you are. But that is kind of an expectation moving into these energies, that basically taking the time and learning about yourself and becoming very authentic is going to be important. So what does that mean? Well, what it means basically is that being you, being your authentic self, it literally means speaking from your heart space and dropping all pretense of what you think others want to hear you say, or what is politically correct, or what is controversial, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It requires less mind editing and more in the moment. So if you take away nothing else from this discussion today, please know that you need to learn to be more authentic with all, but especially you need to start with being authentic with yourself. You need to forget everyone else's desires and wishes for you and from you. What do you truly think from your heart about, and then just fill in the blank with whatever subject comes to mind. No more fear or hiding because of fear of judgment. It can take a bit of courage to truly find and be your authentic self, but it will open the doors to a more genuine and authentic life when you focus on what really matters to you. I'd also like to say that when you first start to be authentic, you may just be experiencing a freedom to say what you or others have been suppressing, and you still don't know who you are yet. As an example of this, it's when you really get all built up emotionally, and then you say what comes to the top of your mind, and then you end up regretting what you just said. Happens to all of us. But remember, I said what comes to the top of your mind, which is not your heart. Processing things through your mind too much allows the all-protective and easily hurt ego to take hold, and you may go into a defensive mode, trying to protect yourself from all kinds of perceived and potential threats. Besides showing you are feeling threatened and in need to protect yourself, you may not be expressing authentic thoughts towards the given subject matter. And you know what? That's okay. You've got to start somewhere. So that's where you need to be courageous and understand that you need to learn this skill and that you're not going to necessarily be perfected when you first start it. The more you practice being authentic, you will then audit yourself and become better and better at expressing yourself. It takes time. It really is a skill that you have to relearn. So you can feel it when you speak through your heart. It can feel like your head is silent for the moment, and the words are literally coming through that chest-heart space. It really feels that way. And then you wonder, what in the world's going on? Because I don't feel I'm really thinking of anything. These words are just coming out. Because you've actually let go of the editing of the mind, and you are speaking through that heart space. And it really feels that way. So you need to practice, and you will notice when you're doing it. So you need to take the time to reflect. Were you authentic in your daily life? Did you speak your truth when asked? If you are unsure, then you need to keep working until you are sure. Even stating confusion or anger or frustration is okay if it is a genuine state. And they are genuine states. So don't be hard on yourself. So why is there so much focus on being authentic? Why am I stressing this so much right now? And I'm just going to really just cut to the end of this and basically give you the bottom line. So for this audience, the people that are listening here, I think a lot of people are tuned in because they want to hear all about the galactics and they want to hear from them. And they really, bottom line, have a desire to interact with them. Many of the beings out there are a bit further along in their education, and they can read you. Even if you cannot, they can. Many of them want an authentic interaction. It is just as simple as that. But others out there want to have a lopsided interaction where they still manipulate. So again, you need to know who you are to know if you're being manipulated in any way. Which leads me to the next discussion point that we want to talk about tonight, and that is of protection. And I'm going to let Chris lead that discussion.
All right. Thank you, Joanna. Now, this is actually a very important subject. I get a lot of calls from people on this very subject, how to defend, how to protect oneself against things such as implantation, demonic possession, and the like. And which brings me first to, why do we need it in the first place? Won't our guides protect us in these times? That's also a bit of a debate people have had, and I always tell them that in these new energies, in these new 4 or 5D energies, it's not like it was in 3D. It's not like the guides will come at our beck and call all the time. People get kind of disgusted when I say this, when I do readings for people, because always in the past, guides have always come to the rescue, like a police department, fire department, what have you, or 911 call. And this isn't the case, because they are trying to teach us. They're trying to teach us not only authenticity, being true to ourselves, but they're trying to teach us that we are Source incarnate. We are Source itself. So in order to teach these things, we have to in order to learn these things, and they teach us, we have to run into situations that we are forced to use these particular skills. I myself have run into these very situations, like with the Draco, for instance, who have shown up constantly, archons, the same difference, where I have been forced time and time again to bring out my defenses, my shielding. And this is not something, at first I thought that it was kind of a nuisance, that there was no purpose to it. And I couldn't have been any more wrong. Back when I lived in Lincoln, Nebraska, there was a time where I had an epiphany, because I would constantly call on the guides for protection. I'd call in Michael, which I still speak to him to this day. It's not like I completely cut him off or anything, and that's something I also would not recommend. But it's more of I realized it was more of a 50-50 deal with them. It is you can call on them, sure, but they are going to step back to see how you bring out the inner God within, and I'm going to describe how you do this now. What you do, I'm going to describe protection first, and then I'm going to lead to why the bad guys do what they do. How to protect from it. You visualize a white core, or whatever color you see as protection. Doesn't necessarily even have to be white. Most people recognize white with good, so I'm using that as an example. Bring out your infinite, godly source core from the center. Stretch it outward around you in an infinite barrier. See it as eternally infinite. See yourself as creation itself. You are creation itself. Use that very mantra, I am creation itself. When you do this, you can mix and match it up however you want, saying I am the infinite one, I am creation itself, I am the I am. Use whatever you feel your word for source is. I am God, I am creation, however you wish. Mean it, feel it, to the point where you even see a different vibrancy in plants, in the sky, in the people around you. Do this, and I can guarantee you're going to see results from it. If you truly attain this, you are going to see results. And even before I did these things, I was in a state where I was constantly in almost like a combative mode. It was more of a, how can I put it? More of like an us versus them type of mode. And I came to quickly realize that was not the way to do things, because I saw that I was getting more bombarded than usual, and that was to teach. Now, are all dark things there to teach? No, there's an overage of darkness, which I won't completely get into at the moment, but there is an overage, an unnecessary amount. And this leads me to how do they harvest our energies. There's varying methods on how they do this. The Draco in particular will take shards of energy from people. The Greys do the same thing, where they ingest it and they use it, they absorb it into their very being, even though the Greys do absorb genetics. The Draco will absorb the energy and use it to sustain their own life force. There are implants that can also harvest energy and bring in attachments and even contain a consciousness within them. I've personally encountered that one. There are attachments that look like leeches or lamprey that attach to the base of the spine. I find those quite often. Some sit within your abdomen, and they block your soul light from reaching every other part of you because they are harvesting that energy not only from your genetics but your inner light. And there are situations where you're emotionally fed off of. The Archons are very good at doing this. The Draco are good at this as well, where they'll subtly change your emotional state over a period of time. You're taking time to process these states, and then before you know it, you're in their snare. And I've encountered all of these particular methods. They cause chaos and fear. They can do it either very rapidly or very subtly. In recent days, they've chosen the subtle methods. Let me see. Also, the guides. Why won't the guides do it for us now? As I've said before, it's a 50-50 rule with them. Per the phrase, God only helps those who help themselves. Michael especially has brought this to light for me on my guide Simeon, and the soul grouping known as M have brought this to light for me. You help them better help you by helping you. You are actually the more important factor here. You are God. You are an expression of God. They, even though they are as well, they are the parent figures trying to remove the training wheels from you. Okay, here's a good example. Say your parent is trying to help you ride your bike. That parent is not going to be riding that bike with you. No, they will expect you to one day take those training wheels off that bike and ride it yourself around the block. This is an example that I have been shown. This is needed to be able to interact with the galactics because there are service to self races out there who will take our energy. As I said before, the guides cannot see everything. They're not omnipotent gods. This is very, very, very important. They are not omnipotent. They are equals in every way, shape, or form. Michael, and Jesus and all of them, some people would call this attitude blasphemous. Some would think I'm being arrogant by saying this, but I'm saying now they are our equals in every way. They're our brothers and sisters. It'd be like if you went over to your neighbor's house every time you got into some kind of trouble or somewhere. That neighbor would go, God, go take care of this yourself after a while. Hence, I've run into this very same attitude with a lot of our galactic brothers and sisters out there. They will help you as best they can. They will help you co-create with them. But will they come to your rescue or ride to your rescue every single time? No. No, they will not, and with good reason. We would not want them to. What if we would fail in our attempts to protect ourselves? Will our guides abandon us and allow for immense harm? This is actually a subjective question. Each person needs to define harm. There will be some rub in this process of growth. And what I mean by rub is this. Everyone here listening to this has had somebody in their life that is just plain obnoxious or in some way. We've all had these people that just get under our skin in some way. We see these people in society. We see them in our daily lives. These are people that actually aid in our growth. But per their behavior, per this behavior, we have seen what we do not want around us. We have seen this. This is also Source's way of teaching us. This is our guide's way of teaching us. Our guide's purpose is to ensure we stay within the bounds of our learning experience. They must consider free will factors and agreements made with other entities. This is another reason that they don't always get involved either. Say you've unwittingly given your consent to a trickster. I've run into this in many people's reads where they thought they've run into an angel or some kind of angelic being. And it's no complete fault to the person unless they've really wantonly done it, that they know it's a dark being and then they still go into it. I saw this even the other day with a friend of mine, where a cherished guide of hers was actually an Arconian being that had tricked her as a child. And I rid her of this Archon presence, but she had to denounce its permission 3 times before it was able to leave, and the guides were able to actually take care of it properly and help her properly. That's part of that 50-50 process. That's discernment, but that's for another show. We are doing our next show on discernment. I will go into more in depth on that at that time. But suffice it to say, it is very, very important and very, very crucial to protection. They also take into account our learning process. They need to slowly step back to encourage us to call upon the source within? And yes, I believe so. Maybe not so much now, but will to come as we pass more into these new energies. The more these energies are becoming balanced, the more these energies are becoming fused, the more our ideals of a dualistic energy is becoming unwoven and undone, audited, if you will, the more that we must call on the source within and less upon our brothers and sisters. Not to say that we should not. I highly encourage working with guides, highly, highly encourage it, because there are situations that we are not prepared for just yet. So with that, I'm going to pass this over to Joanna to discuss how much they have been doing for us that we did not know. Some people are wondering why they could not repel bad things, and now they can't, because they were not actually by themselves to begin with. So with that,
I'm going to see if I'm working now.
Okay, good. Her side is actually working now, so I will actually pass this over to her. She has her own headset now, so I will mute out.
Okay, so this is a very interesting subject because this has come up a lot in the last few weeks with different people who basically were saying things like, I was always able to repel them. I was always able to do this and do that, and now it's not working anymore, and my guides are nowhere to be seen. And so I want to bring that up specifically, and just, again, it goes back to something that Chris just said about, but I want to reiterate it, that your guides are not abandoning you, but they are acting like that parent, and you are in the process of learning to ride that two-wheeler. And so what you don't know and what you have no historic knowledge of in the past is, although you thought you were potentially slaying those dragons on your own, basically, you didn't realize that they were all around you actually letting you, like the child who did something great, and the parents actually never told that child that they actually helped out. And they let that child, by building that child's confidence, they let that child believe that they actually did it all themselves. So you have to be open to the understanding that your guides always were participating in your protection. it's one of the things about being in 3D, the calling of not from within, but the allowance of all that's around you, that outside who's helping you. That's allowed. That's an understandable part of 3D. But now that we're getting into these new energies, it's going to be all about you learning. And it's a slow learning process where you're going to call it from within because you are sourced from within. And so it's just that your perspective didn't see the total picture before. You didn't know that they were actually behind the scenes helping you so much. And they were. And now slowly they're going to step back. But I can guarantee you, the goal is they're not letting you come to total destruction. That's not what it's all about. It's about slowly giving a little bit more so you can learn to grow in your experiences and become confident in your new skills. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate that. So another question that I really want Chris to address has to do with, there's a lot of people out there that have been taught a concept that if we raise our frequency high enough, that we don't really need to work on protecting ourselves anymore. Our being in that higher frequency will just make that Teflon coat and everything just slides right off. And so that's not our understanding, but I'd like Chris to kind of talk about that a little bit more now.
All right, I will do so, yes. Can we raise our frequency high enough to stop the need for protecting ourselves? I will say no to that, and not just a no, that's an over-resounding no, because this is my justification for this. Yes, there are many texts out there saying, if we get that frequency high enough, we will not be seen by the bad guys. This is true for beings who have earned their stripes in the muck and the mire. These are for beings that have their genome has gotten to such a pinnacle along with their spiritual thinking that they are able to conjure such energies. Now, I have noticed that in the past when I have attempted this particular energy raising, which I completely support, I've attempted this myself, and I have noticed that I have lit up like a beacon, more so for the bad guys to come and attack me. And I was confused when this came up, because I was severely confused. I was always taught and always heard that the high frequency would always forever protect me. What the misconception is about this is that the human energy core, from what I see in people, is part genetic and part spiritual. We are in a human coat, we are in a human density, human experience, but we have divine inclinations, divine knowledge, and the like. With this, we are actually having to climb up the ladder. And also, with this, the high frequency at this stage will not completely mask a body that is grounded in the density that we are in. So, in this instance, there is another trick that I have used, well, along, of course, with declaring yourself source. When you get your frequency as high as you want it, and I always encourage you to have your frequency as high as you can ever get it. But there is this one trick I call the charcoal layer. I envision a charcoal layer, not dark energy. People have misinterpreted me on this. Not dark energy. A charcoal layer, very much like a soldier using camouflage in the woods, or fatigues. Charcoal layer surrounding that high frequency so that you are invisible to forces that want to do harm. That way, you are using your intent and your intention to camouflage you. This is a technique I've seen the Agartha Network use on many occasions. I always wondered what this smoky layer was around them. Many people have interpreted this as demonic and hellish in nature. And one of my guides, a Bendigoth, told me, no, this is what I would call the charcoal layer. Their people actually taught it to us many years ago, but it was misinterpreted as evil and dark. So this is why nobody is ever encouraged to use it. Another misinterpretation of this high frequency, I will only briefly, very briefly touch on this. This is going to be a subject for another episode. This was mentioned on the Diamonds Network about a set of white knights that wore white armor. This is something some friends of mine would appreciate me saying for the next few seconds. So I will acknowledge that some of the mythology surrounding this white high frequency or coat of white has to do with the mythology of these white knights. I will leave that open for a different show. I just wanted to acknowledge that bit of history. So, in ways of protecting, a sample of ways of protecting yourself, as stated in the blog, source light from within, abdomen, and growing outwards. Joanna here suggested mirrors surrounding self, turn and face outwards. Don't forget feet and head. I suggest also charcoal layer and the I am creation itself, mantra or variations thereof. Now, I'm going to a section that I'm going to get in might actually be disagreeable with some people, but I'm not out to offend or anything like that. So, what I'm about to say is relying on symbols, crucifix, or even that law of one symbol that you see me toting around quite often. I don't rely on symbols. I work in conjunction with symbols. I always bring the protection from within and have physical manifestations that represent that inward protection around me. This shows my human mind and my human self that I automatically already am imposing within myself this godly state. It has to come from within first. It must always come from within first. Yes, there is a source creator. There always has been. Yes, there are protectors out there. But statues and idols and symbols, such as a crucifix, which in all was actually created by the Dark Agenda. I won't get into that part right now. But these symbols, though some of them are manifestations, or at one point were manifestations of good, they are not being brought from within and manifested outward. People are thinking that putting a particular symbol in a particular place will automatically repel without the person ever having to do anything at all. And that is simply false. You have to put work in it yourself. You have to maintain the barriers around your home, be it through ritual and using these symbols, but conjured from the inward to the outward, or just knowing that you have that protection that you're conjuring yourself. The guides have brought this up many times to me, that people rely too much on effigies, idols, and symbols. And this is not something that this is not something they want. They don't want people relying on them 100% of the time, as I've stated. Any guide or angelic or outward source, because you are source walking the earth at the moment. You are source. Yes, you can consult the higher. I use higher in quotes because according to the guides, there's no such thing as higher or lower. It's all equal. You can consult a higher source, an infinite source, outwardly for knowledge exchange. But that outward source will always say that you are part of it. You are it. You are an expression of it. That is always the response I've gotten from the creator energy. That is the only response I've ever gotten from the creator energy. What about our children? People have asked this of me many times. Can we protect them? When do they have to do it? How old do they have to be to have things like to at what age is it appropriate to stop doing revocations and protection for them? This was a very good question that I was asked, and I've had this come up in several reads. Per the guides, this is the information they gave me. It is somewhere between the ages of 13 and 16, depending on spiritual maturity and cellular genetic growth. To use this example, human adults cannot get to the point of becoming invisible because of rising frequencies, because the DNA is not mature enough yet. besides spiritual maturity, the body DNA must be ready as well. So that is the answer I was given by my guides about children and their readiness to undertake this particular task. And what about others? Can we help protect someone else who does not know about this subject? This is another question I'm told quite often about people that are skeptical, but yet they are being bombarded, or if they have a different belief system and would not accept this new paradigm. I was told you can always ask Source to watch over them, the outwardly Source. If you have the ability, you can take off attachments like I do. I remove attachments from people. But if they are meant to be there, then they will go right back. I'm going to use an example. I will not give my friend's name. I don't think he would appreciate this very well. But I had a friend that had a demon attachment on the back of his neck, or within the platinum chakra on the back of the neck. And I looked into this. I knew it was there, so I figured, okay, this is my friend. I'm going to remove this. But when I did so, it was my two of my guides by the name of Bugnassi and, of course, Michael stepped forward and asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm removing this demon from him. It's dangerous. They said, no, trust us. He needs this here right now. Without it, he will not be able to learn what he's supposed to do to get to his most optimum timeline. I'm like, all right, I trust you, but I don't like this. I don't like the fact that this being is there. And they acknowledged what I said. They understood what I said. Well, many, many months later, in fact, it was almost a year later after that point, his life from that point collapsed in on itself for a second time. And now in the current day and age, because he himself released this demon, which had been cycling off of his energy for quite some time. He himself released it. He himself did the appropriate inner work. He is now actually getting married and is with his soulmate that he knew from a long time ago. And he's at the happiest I've ever seen him. So, that is a very prime example. He's a prime example of growth from this. The average person without psychic gifts can use their imagination to have a conversation with this other person and try to reason with them on a soul level. This is actually making contact, believe it or not, because that center of the brain that people imagine with is the very same center of the brain used in telepathy, used in remote viewing and the like. You imagine things into existence. You can imagine talking to the person, and you actually are speaking to them on some level. You can visualize a positively changed person that can assist as well, but it will always be the other person's free will decision to change or not. Now, there is a section of this that I do want to add into this show. I advised a friend of mine several months ago if she wanted to make some changes in her life. She's a fiction writer. I said, okay, use your imagination to come in contact with the very people you are wanting to help. There was somebody she was wanting to help, but she didn't know how to get through to this person. So I said, okay, create a character, create a scenario, and create a place that your friend is set free from whatever is going on with him. Write it into existence in some kind of fictional paradigm in a book. Whereas in real life, this person failed, write in that he was triumphant in some scenario. Well, in that instance, she did so, and it ended up working. So that is, for any of you novelists out there and writers out there that have a knack for that, that's a way to conjure this as well. So this leads me to this leads me to the towards the end of the show here, the galactic contribution. This will be greetings from the different galactics out there, and This will be a little bit longer than an hour tonight, folks. This is the very first show, so just bear with us. This will be a bit longer than an hour, but just know the rest of the shows that will be out there will be an hour long. So I will get to finding any galactics that are actually in the room with us this evening. And then after I get through delivering their messages, I will then open up for questions with the Q&A queue. Like I said in the beginning of the show, it will be *6, and you will be asked to press 1 to be added to the caller Q&A queue. And I will answer the questions in the order in which the call was received in the queue. And that will be after I deliver the galactic contribution. So I will now see who is actually in the room with us that could actually talk about this subject of protection. And whichever guide is so inclined to come through, or set thereof. Okay, this is someone that people that have heard me on the Diamonds Network will actually know. This is Joyous that is actually coming through at the moment. And for people on this call that are not familiar with Joyous or his people, I will give a very brief rundown. Joyous is a being known as a Ligarian. The Ligarians themselves as a people, they look like frog-type beings. They're tall, upright, frog-looking beings. They've been called by other galactics, they've been called the Joyous Ones. This is why Joyous uses the name that he does. They've always been known to be happy and joyful in some way. They also have been called the Ones of Storytime, or the Beings of Storytime. You might actually recognize his people from the book series The Wind and the Willows. He told me to pay close attention to these storybooks of children that have frog-like figures in them because they were being depicted. And the place where Joyce's people come from is the Andromedan galaxy, but they, for the most part, anymore live in the Pleiadian star clusters. So, I'm going to bring him through for the subject of protection, and I will then see if any other galactic wants to come through. If not, then we will begin the questions. Give me just a moment. Greetings, all of you listening to within earshot of my voice. I am the one you know of as Joyous. I wish to state to all of you joyful ones listening tonight the concept that has been therefore discussed of protection is the most important of concepts. You, as extensions of the one creator consciousness, the joyful ones in the newest age upon your world, must adhere to seeing yourself as the individuals that you are, correct. But in this instance, you must also see yourself as one with everything. Keeping your identity intact is most prevalent. Keeping and honoring to the oneness is most prevalent. Become your most authentic self. Also, by saying that you are one with Source, you are one with everything. You are protection itself. You are creation itself. You are one with all things. You are one with my people. I am a mirror for you, joyful ones, and you are a mirror for me, joyful ones. We are all mirrors for each other. We all feel the pain and the anguish of each other. We all feel the joy and the happiness of each other. This is what my people had to learn many, many centuries ago, when we too were oppressed at one time. You may be wondering, why am I so joyful now, knowing that I was oppressed? For one, this was so very long ago, but we, as the Ligarian species, know of this, acknowledge this, and have bypassed this, with acknowledging that we are one with all things. We are joy itself. We are joyfulness. We are happiness. We are balance. We are discernment. We are the all-seeing knowingness in each other. We see, yes, but this does not mean we are above you. We are your equals because we are one with all things, as are you. We share no title above each other in a, as you would say, hierarchical fashion, because we do not acknowledge one higher or lower than ourselves. We acknowledge you as our brothers and sisters in the Son. We acknowledge all things joyful and all things positive and all things balanced and all things authentic, as some would say. This is what I have come to say this evening, but just know that the joyous ones watch over you, always, our dearest joyful brethren in the Son. Thank you. All right. This was Joyous, as I've said before, who is now stepping back. I will see if there is anyone else. If no one else wishes to speak this evening, I will then open the floor up. Let us see here. I will ask... Okay, there is one more being that wishes to speak. People also know him from my time on the Diamonds Network. His name is Chewanda, and he is a member of a Native American Pleiadian race of people we would recognize as the ancient Mayans. Now, people have thought that some of the Native American species or people came from the inner earth. This is only a half-truth. His people have been coming to Earth for generations. They themselves were oppressed by our standards not that long ago. But before that time, some of their people came to Earth. Some of them went to Mars and then from there went down to the inner Earth, like with the blonde-haired Nordics. This particular race is one that's going to make more and more contact with us as time goes on. They are going to be the forerunners for, as we would think of as disclosure. But they are going to do it slowly. They are going to be our neighbors, our brothers, very much like other galactics have said through me over the many months. But the difference between some of them and this particular race is this. This particular race is more like your average Joe. They look Native American. They essentially are Native American, but they are more like our average Joe. We would get along better with them instead of, say an 8-foot-tall Nordic that we would have to look up to all the time. These people are our height, our weight, our look, our type, and this is why they've been chosen for this. Chewanda is coming through this evening to also talk about this topic of protection. And I'm going to let him take the floor here in just a moment. I'm going to get a drink here because this dries me out very easily. All right. Greetings all. My name, as this one has said, is Chewanda. I am of a race of people your people know quite well in your histories. Think of the ancient Incan Empire, Mayan empires, and your many scattered native tribes. I share cousinship with all of them, and to you, my dear brethren, humanity. I wish to state a most important topic this evening, one of protection of self and protection of people around you. This is a concept my people had to learn, as you would say, the hard way as well, from our oppression from the ones you know of called the Draco and AI and artificial intelligence and the like. What I state now is this. when you are undergoing a metamorphosis or transformation or even a possession, as you humans put it, or, as you say, an oppression moment. Other people around you become terribly affected by these particular instances. It is so very important to actually keep your inner core safe from these beings, because in an instance where you're in a household, say with at least one other person or many other people, your accordance or agreement with darker beings actually harms the people around you. This is something my people learned and had to learn over and over and over again in order to be able to teach this night. I myself, a very, very long time ago, by your standards, was within our household with many of our extended family members. In this particular instance, I myself became terribly crippled by that of what you would call a demonic possession. This is actually a variation of internal programming, allowing the allowance of said entity to transport within the soul seat of one. But that is not why I'm here to state this. My factual upbringings in this instance bore truths. In this particular instance, as I went through these terrible, as you would say, possessions, people around me began to feel the energy friction on an intuitive level. They began to generate fear energy, began to generate friction on an electronic level, which not only affected our technology, but then allowed these particular beings to, as you say, body jump from one person to the next, which caused even more chaos. It is because of my mistake in that instance, thinking that I could withstand such things. I did not protect myself properly by acknowledging myself as being the God within. I thought that I could withstand any storm and stand on the precipice of change and the precipice of oppression and not have my family get actually, as you say, oppressed. I was actually wrong by not protecting myself and not protecting my inner core. I actually became just as harmful to them as the being that harmed me was to me. So, if I could give any advice here and now, is this. Please not only think of just yourself in an egocentric way. Think of yourself as the God within. Therefore, this transmutes to people around you, and you are not allowing in something that could potentially harm the loved ones around you. This is what I've come to say this evening, but I will be back on future shows through this one to tell people more about my home planet and other concepts that people wish to know about myself and our role on your world thusly. Thank you. All right. Looks like Chawanda is now stepping back. And I'm not seeing anyone else that wishes to talk this evening. So I'm seeing many galactics helping to buffer some of the energies this evening, but I do not see anyone else that wishes to speak. So I will now open up the Q&A to anyone who wishes to ask a question. So go in and dial *6, and when it prompts you, press 1, and you will end up in the Q&A queue. And I will respond to the questions as they come through one at a time. I will give people a few minutes to do so. Okay, I will pull this person off mute right now. Go ahead and mute out Joanna. I'll answer this person's question. All right, you are unmuted now with the last 4 digits of your phone number, 1646. What's your question?
Hey, Chris. This is Terry from Pennsylvania.
Oh, hello, Terry. How are you this evening?
How's it going? Yeah, I'll just make it real quick for tonight, but I feel like don't we need like protection from like say Christianity and a lot of these religions that try to affect us and control us? You want to talk about that tonight?
Oh, yes, most definitely. This is actually also very important. I'm glad you brought this up because from what I've understood, this is something that would also fall into the discernment category. From what I understand, religions like Christianity were actually created by the dark agenda to be able to muddy the waters when it came to evolution, and that bit of programming has actually been very bad for people. From what I have seen in the modern age, especially people that are trying to actually better themselves, people that are actually trying to evolve. I've noticed one of the worst things I've run into in people's reads is trying to get out of that religious programming, trying to shed
Right.
themselves of that old way of thinking. It's been some people it's hell. Some people they don't know anything's wrong, and that's okay too. That's not their path. But I have noticed with people that are willing to step out of it, it has been very 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 rough on them to try to accept, like aliens, for instance. Some Christians that I have run into personally, they quote the Bible verbatim by saying God put man on earth, and they won't acknowledge that even their Jesus Christ could possibly be an extraterrestrial. They won't
Right.
hear it. No, and so yes, it is
Exactly.
pretty detrimental.
I mean, they call aliens demons and all this, and really, they're hurting themselves by being misled and not checking into new ideas.
Hmm. Oh yes, yes, and okay, Joanna, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'd like to say something about that. So I think part of it again is having a little uh, stepping back and having a little larger perspective to say that when we were in the environment of having a 3D experience, it had a role contributing to that experience, setting up the dualities and the
Yeah.
good versus the bad. What is good? So it had a role. Now, did it get out of control? Absolutely, it got out of control. And we'll be the first ones to say that we refer to it kind of as the darkness, but the darkness did get out of control. They played their part way too well, and they got way out of control. And so part of that now is the unraveling of the concept that we were in a duality. How was that all around us and we didn't even realize it? Untangling that ball of yarn so that we can move forward. So I think what you brought up is actually a great point, but it's not about thinking them as an enemy, because that still leaves you in that duality mindset. What you have to understand is you're growing to the point of gaining your discernment skills that you're realizing, aha, that actually may just have been a rub, and I need to see a bigger picture and have a better understanding, because you want to move forward out of it. And so and it's going to be hard, but it also in the concept of something we really didn't discuss tonight, which we will be discussing several shows from now, is the concept of that who's ready and what's going to happen with them with their new experience, and what's happening with the people that aren't ready. So the people that aren't ready are probably going to still be experiencing and as things as they were, and maybe not wanting to grow and move forward because they're not ready to grow and move forward. And so they may still believe very intently. And again, part of what we want everyone to grow and understand is they have that right. I mean, that's where they are in their learning process. So what we're doing and what we're talking about is not everyone's cup of tea. And we're not trying to convince everyone. We're trying to, help people who are ready to kind of move into these new energies, to think of things at a higher level, to see it at the 1,000-foot level, and see that there was maybe a purpose for things before, and now we're going to unwind and understand them so that we can move forward. So it had its role, but in moving forward, the ones that are going to be moving forward, it's going to get dismantled and seen differently.
Right, and it's going to be a battle because they're going to call us the bad guys, and we're going to call them the bad guys. It just seems like it's hard to do peacefully.
Well, part of that for yourself, think of it like this, is that you want to get out of the dual thinking. So it's just like, for Chris and I to be able to do a show like this. Mm-hmm. We can just listen to the mile long of people that don't like what we're doing, and we could engage them. But why? We're not in the dual thinking anymore. We don't want to engage that anymore. We want to move ahead. We understand that people aren't going to agree with us, and we're just basically going to sit around and have conversations, and the people that are like-minded are going to find us and have these conversations. Mm-hmm. So part of us is going to be disengaging from that old way of being, and basically, we all have family members that aren't going to agree with us, and I wish them well, and I wish everyone peace or whatever, and wherever they are in their learning, but I don't have to engage in it. I can just state my truths, be authentic, and continue on with the conversation and not feel the need to get into an argument about it with anyone. And that's part of our challenge moving forward as well, disengaging from that dual way and getting involved in that.
I think one way that would help is if we started to see a lot more UFOs and people actually finally saw it and believed it, and then, and started going from there, and then, that would make it a little easier.
Oh, yeah. I believe, with some that will take place. My mother always told me that in order to see it, you would have to believe it first. And my guide Simeon said something along similar lines, unless that person was supposed to have that spontaneous, epiphany. Some people aren't going to see it at all. I heard a story one time. I'll do a brief example. There were two guys walking along a beachfront, and both of them saw a spaceship. Well, only one of them saw it as a spaceship. The other person saw it as a 747, and no matter how much the other person tried to convince him, the person even got a picture of it, showed other people. This person still could not see it because that person was so deep in a programming, but they were also not ready for it as well. So that all they saw was an airplane.
That's the whole story about the 9/11 attack. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, I'll keep it short for tonight.
All right, thank you for calling in, Terry. Have a nice night.
Yep, you too. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got another caller on the line here with the ending of the phone number 2512. I'm going to unmute you now. Hello, caller. Welcome to the lifting. What is your question?
Hi, Christopher. This is Joni from Puerto Rico. How are you doing?
Oh, hi, Joni. How are you this evening?
I'm very excited for your new show, you and Joanna. Congratulations. Very, very exciting, and I'm glad to be here to listen to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. It's good to have you on here. What was your question for this evening?
Well, with the theme of protection, I was wondering what one could do for protection from ancestral karma.
Oh, that is actually a very good question because I've heard of these lineage curses before, as some have called them. Some things have to do with the grays, other things with other species like, say, the jinn I've run into the most of this with. And with this whole thing with ancestral karma, what I've had to do is I've looked back in the person's lineage and help basically rewrite it like I would a past life. This goes back to the whole imagination thing. Do you really believe that you're trapped in an ancestral wheel of karma? No, you don't necessarily have to believe that you are. You just conjure it and manifest it like anything else. Visualize even the ancestor that could have possibly fallen for the trick that got you embroiled in that karma to begin with. Visualize them and even imagine yourself communicating with them and ask them to reverse it. Ask them to not become an active participant in it. You'd be surprised how much that timeline shifts, because I've seen this actively work myself by doing readings. Other people have told me from that rewriting they have actually become better, and that they've noticed that ancestral lineage curses, some have told it actually works wonders. Another thing that works wonders is soul contract revocations. I have written many myself that are for specific things like lineage curses and like collapsing timelines and the like. And that's another thing you would be very, very, very surprised that would actually does work. I've had it work within myself. Joanna here has had it work. I've had many friends try it. I've had other clients try it. And with some, it has immediate effects. Other people, it takes a little while. But those two things that I just mentioned do work.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Very good. Well, thank you so much. I'll keep it brief as well since we went over the hour. So I just wanted to thank you again and congratulate you.
Yeah, thank you, Joni. You have a nice night.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'm not seeing anyone else in the Q&A queue. I'll give anyone a minute to actually dial *6. All right. I see. All right. I see you here, Albert. Thank you for joining us on the show this evening. What's your question?
Hey, Chris. Just want to congratulate you on your show. Just a quick question. I'll keep it short also. The one I have is, will there always be a need for individuals on the warrior/protector path when the changes are coming?
I believe it will take a different shape. I believe the warrior energy is always going to be there, and this is something Michael would say as well. I believe it's going to manifest in a different way. It would be more or less like a peacekeeper. Think of Star Wars for a minute. Think of the Jedi Knights. They say they're peacekeepers versus not soldiers. They're keepers of the peace. They are defenders, but they are not soldiers. There's a difference there. Michael brought this example to me himself. He said people have to be authentic to themselves. If they are not of a how can I put it? I don't want to use the word pacifistic because that's actually a good concept. If they are not, if certain things are not their cup of tea, they would be lying to themselves by saying that they're anything but their authentic self. So if helping others and helping protect others is their vocation of choice, is their path of choice, then so be it. But don't let it get out of control and turn into something that it is not, like something overtly, in favor of the dark agenda or anything like that. But a balanced energy, something that is more attuned to the new energies. Like I said, in a peacekeeping sort of way. There's always, I would be, lying to people if I said that there wouldn't be a need to defend oneself, against anything, because you never know what's going to be around in the future. You never know what's going to be coming around the next day. You really don't. Not with the shifting timelines. So to say that you had to rid yourself of the warrior tendencies, that's a misconception completely.
And Albert, what we've been actually told is that if there's another part of you, another side of you that is actually kind of a little bit monkish and sits and meditates and has that other side to counterbalance it, that actually, believe it or not, both of those is actually part of a person who is balanced. So it's about not being lopsided, but having those tendencies to want to speak out or defend or do whatever are wonderful qualities, like Chris was saying, as long as it's not unbalanced. But if you already possess that other part of yourself where you're meditative and you're thinking a lot and you're doing that inner work as well, that actually is a sign of someone who's actually quite balanced. So I'm curious whether or not you may be thinking you're unbalanced when actually you may be more balanced than you think.
Okay. I understand that. Can I ask one more quick question?
Of course.
As times are going and changes are happening, I had a quick question because I have this feeling that our negative energies picking up, as in like things or beings or whatever may happen, there to step in your path.
Oh, most definitely.
Like a challenge.
Yeah, most definitely. Especially beings like the Draco Archons. They're all about that challenge. They thrive in it. They're in desperation mode at the moment, and we've encountered this most recently, especially with the Archons. Most recently, they're in such desperation mode. They're trying to keep the old way as much as possible. So yes, they will. They have stepped up their game 1,000% in this recent energy because of that fear mode that they're in. They don't know what the future is going to bring from them. They don't want to find out. They just want to keep things in status quo, and that's not how the things are going to work here in the new energies.
Okay, because I've noticed there's a lot of happenings and stuff where people that that have always been a certain way, and they act out in a way that nobody's ever seen. And sometimes I don't recall it. So I was just wondering.
Yes, that would be a form of possession, oppression, and that's quite common. If it's a personality trait that is unbeknownst to anybody else or is not familiar to anybody else that person would do, that is a classic oppressive behavioral trait. Yes.
Okay. I was just making sure. I was just having this feeling. I just wanted to verify a few things, and and I guess talk about it on another show on certain incidences that happened, like in Fort Lauderdale, stuff like that. But anyway, I just wanted to thank you for you guys' time and congratulate y'all on your show.
Thank you very much, Albert. Yeah, thank you. You and April have a good night.
All right, you too. Y'all take care.
You too. All right, let's see here. Is there a new person? Okay, yes, there is a new person in the queue with the ending of the phone number 9695. You are now on air. What's your question?
Good evening, Christopher and Joanna. Congratulations on your great new show. I'm really excited to hear the future episodes and what you have to offer. You're both very gifted, and I'm sure I'm not the only one looking forward to your future shows. Listening to the previous caller in question, I just started wondering when or even if the Archons and the Draco have ever been in fear mode themselves.
Yeah, that's
for others.
Yeah, this is very interesting because I've noticed their reactions lately have, like I said, stepped up. They've stepped up their game lately, but they've also, like beings like the Greys, for instance, and the Archons, they're doing things in a rushed way, doing some things very sloppily done. This shows that they are in a desperation mode, fear mode, and I've sensed fear coming from them. See, the sensing of the thoughts goes both ways, and if something's trying to evade my mind, if they can read me, I can read them right back. And any of the Archons that have recently tried to attack us, I've sensed nothing but fear coming from them. We're not the ones experiencing fear from them anymore. Now they are experiencing fear from us because we are becoming more authentic to ourselves. They are afraid of the whole status quo changing. They don't want to change. These are species that are very slow to change. So the future, they're afraid of it. They do not know what to expect.
They're not in any way accustomed to being on the other end of this, then.
No, they've never been on the other end of this. They don't know what to expect, or at least they don't know they've never been on the other end of it. So the Archons and the Draco, I found out, are periodically oppressed by artificial intelligence, but the ones that either don't know they've been oppressed or have never been oppressed are the ones that are in fear mode at the moment.
Wow, it sounds like there are a number of rabid animals being cornered now in that respect.
Yes.
Yeah, and just to add to that conversation, I always like to tie it all around in a nice bow. Is the why? Why are they so afraid? And I think from what we've been told is that what we don't yet really understand about ourselves, the human race, and who we are versus who some of these other races are, is that we're kind of like mutts. When you look back and you see about the creation of this skin suit that our soul is in, is that, a lot of races put little pieces of themselves into this little stew that makes up the human skin suit. And so, believe it or not, we have certain abilities in our DNA that when they cut on, we're really an impressive race. We have co-creative skills that maybe these other races don't have. So there's reasons why they want to keep the lid on us, because not that we would be aggressors, but we really have some impressive skills, and that understanding and learning to be co-creative and all of those different things, and especially if we do it as a collective bunch, it's impressive. It's scary to some of these other races because they know that they cannot control us anymore, and they want to keep that lid on us. And so it's not just as simple as you think. There are actually real reasons why they want to keep us down, because they will lose the ability to control the human race, because we have DNA-given abilities that are going to cut on, and we will not be able to be, let's say, kicked around anymore. But we don't know that yet. And that's why they do everything to keep everyone down, to keep you doubting yourself, and to keep you, always waiting for another shoe to drop, because you have these co-creative abilities, and they're going to always get you to keep focusing on creating what they want versus creating what we want. And so if you're thinking about it, you're starting to create it. If you're thinking about it, if you're constantly in fear, you're just going to create more fear. If you're constantly waiting for a shoe to drop, then you're going to get more of just waiting for a shoe to drop. And so that's really the difference. It's the one saying that was said to us a while back that people need to understand when they're learning, and we'll talk about it more next week, is it really is the concept of the peace, love, and family. Gravitate towards things that give you inner peace. And if watching the TV at night does not give you inner peace, turn it off. Work on inside and gravitating towards that, so you can stop listening to this other stuff that wants you to co-create something else, and start living and dreaming and feeling and seeing down the road how you want to act, feel, smell, taste, so you can start co-creating that. So start co-creating the concept that they can't bully you around anymore. And that's that inner, bringing out that inner God source in you. So,
thank you
just
so
try
much,
and keep that in mind.
That brings up one little last question I'm hoping that I can ask.
Sure.
With the knowing that we have these new energies that we're having to work with, will this be triggering, activating our DNA automatically in some cases?
Yes, I believe that is true. I've seen these energies actually bring out DNA that's been buried for many centuries. There was a guy that came to me one time. His name was Lomos, and he was an Anunnaki scientist who said when they helped create the human race, they put in what was known as epipogenic DNA. And what this epipogenic DNA eventually became linked with was the junk DNA. The junk DNA are these skills that are dormant, and certain energies were supposed to come about in our current century in order to unlock these skills. And Lomos told me that it was a natural unlocking that they put in there of different skills, different ability sets, skill sets, everything, mindsets, and these different energies that were going to come through here would automatically start unlocking these different skills. He explained it to me in detail of how his people had to go through the same process. So he knew in creating a progeny species that their children would have to go through the same process in order to become either just as evolved as them or even more evolved. Their hope was more evolved. And this is the process. This is how he explained it to me anyway.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that. You two have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to your next show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you called in tonight.
My pleasure. Take care.
Take care. Okay, let's see if there are any more callers in the queue. I'm going to scroll down here or scroll up and see if there's anybody left here in the queue. I'm not seeing anybody else, so I'm going to give anybody a minute that wants to come in and ask a question. And if there's no one else, we will do the blessing for the end of the show this evening. Let me see here. All right. I will give one more moment to see if anybody else shows. And no, doesn't look like there's anybody. So with that, I will do the ending affirmation and blessing tonight's show. This was a channeling brought to from a guide by the name of Jonas. Hopefully he will appear on future shows. A very interesting individual. He's a very lengthy history I won't go into right now. But his affirmation and blessing for this evening was this: may today be filled with merriment, and tomorrow be not present in your mind. Meaning, be happy in the now. Be merry in the now. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to come regardless. The only thing that matters is the current moment. This is what he was trying to stress with that affirmation. So, with that, I leave you with this. Thanks for joining us. Let me end this with a few announcements. This show will be able to replay as soon as it is finished by calling the free conference call replay number of 712-775-7039. Enter the participant code used in the live show, which is 356878. You will then be able to listen to the last recorded show. All other shows will be posted on the Lifting website. I will be putting up an additional tab called Lifting Episodes. This maiden show will be up in the next few days. Please watch for our weekly blog. We will post a new blog every Monday and discuss it further on Tuesday's show. Hopefully, between reading the blog and listening to the discussion on the show, you will be able to reflect and ask questions related to the topic. If you have questions after the show, please forward them to thelifting2017@gmail.com. Every other Thursday, starting January 19th, we will have a viewer's question show. We will choose questions from the audience to answer here. Depending on volume, we cannot guarantee we can answer all questions. If we notice a similar question being asked from multiple persons, we will also add the question and answer to the FAQ, Frequently Asked Questions tab. You can also schedule a personal reading from me or my mom, Katrina, by going to the website and clicking into the Appointment tab. Right now, I am filling appointments for March. Please be advised, due to the nature of what I do and the energy it takes to conduct a session, since I do bilocate, I normally do one reading per day. This is how I make a living, so it will be important to confirm these appointments several weeks out. Session costs are $125 for 1 hour and $200 for 2 hours. I will not go over a 2-hour reading in one session. Starting February 1st, the method of confirming the appointment will be by a $50 non-refundable deposit due 2 weeks prior to the scheduled appointment. If this deposit does not occur, the appointment will be canceled and then I will fill it with another client. If you need to cancel at that time, you are certainly free to schedule another time. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on this first episode of The Lifting. We look forward to chatting with you again next Tuesday, January 10th, 2017. Thank you, and good night, everyone.